A cave in southern Turkey lay, closed under stone for thousands of years until recently, when researchers cleared its entrance. Inside lay a few small beads, thin bone points, and delicate tools. Who placed those items in a sealed chamber? Why cover the opening with heavy slabs? Did some objects travel from the shore? Or rise from nearby hills? Were makers skilled specialists or everyday people with skilled hands? What stories do these silent objects tell about work, travel, and ritual long ago? How they found it? Directly Cave sits near Dongul village in the Onikisabat district of Kahramanmaraş province. Local farmers knew the hill above the cave for generations, but the full survey and systematic work began with a formal search. The field seasons were led by Professor and Dr. Cevdet Meri Erek from Ankara Haki Bayram Veli University. His team returned to the cave over several seasons and used simple steps to look at it. They cleared loose stones, set grid lines, and recorded each layer of soil. The term sealed refers to how some parts of the cave were closed with heavy stone slabs. The slabs looked set in place and not disturbed by recent activity. In one chamber, the entrance had been partially blocked by large rocks that had been pushed across the doorway. That condition kept some inner spaces free of later trash and animal burrows. It also made the work slow because each slab had to be lifted and the space beneath examined. Work at directly began with a surface study, mapping the hill, and doing test pits. The researchers used hand tools and brushes to avoid damage. Each small object was wrapped and labeled in the field. The crew included students from Ankara Haki Bayram Veli University and staff from the Kahramanmaraş Museum. They worked with National Museum curators to plan the removal and transport of fragile items. The project had interruptions. The region experienced strong earthquakes that affected roads and buildings in that area. Those events delayed some seasons and required them to move equipment and give priority to local safety. Despite the delays, they maintained detailed records and continued the study when conditions allowed. The lead archaeologist, Professor Erek, published short reports and spoke with some news outlets. He described careful steps and the goal to respect affected landowners. The search followed rules set by the Turkish Ministry of Culture and Tourism. The excavations used maps, measured sections, and existing information on where each object lay. That context is the key to how scientists read time and activity at the site. Those doing the work also worked to document previous work on the same hill. Earlier surveys and small discoveries had taken place in the area since 2007. Those earlier campaigns gave the team a basic plan and showed where sealed chambers were more likely. The long study helped avoid confusion between the recent disturbance and ancient closure. Fieldwork at caves requires patience. Small bone pieces and tiny beads can be missed by fast digging. The Directly team moved slowly and scanned every loose block. When they found sealed chambers, they protected the openings and returned with measuring tools and cameras. Each stone slab that covered a space was drawn and measured before moving. That care made later lab work possible and allowed radiocarbon samples to be taken from clean layers. Workers, students, and museum staff of that area played key roles in the heavy lifts and the careful handling. The village of Dongul provided labor and personal knowledge. The team also coordinated with nearby institutions in Kahramanmaraş and Ankara for transport and storage. The careful chain of custody kept fragile objects safe and recorded their exact positions in the cave. Directly is not the only site in Turkey where sealed rock features appear, but the combination of sealed layers and well-recorded context is rare enough to attract wider attention. The slow pace of work and the named team led by Professor Cevdet Meri Erek are the primary reasons scholars are now able to discuss specific small objects and their age with confidence. All steps were recorded perfectly for later review. But if Directly's secrets were uncovered with such care, what other mysteries might still lie hidden? Beneath Turkey's ancient hills, the cave and its neighbors. The landscape around directly sits in southern Anatolia, where limestone hills and river valleys are common. That landscape holds many caves that record long spans of human activity. Okuzini Cave on the Antalya coast is one notable example. Archaeologists, including Aysin Yalcinkaya, Ismail Kilik Kokten, and international colleagues, such as Marcel Ort, worked at Okuzini and recorded long sequences of stone tools and animal bones. At Okuzini, the mouth was partly blocked by large blocks of stone that left lower layers sealed in places. Derinkuy in Cappadocia is a carved complex rather than a natural cave. It has multiple levels and served later communities as shelter and storage. Its scale shows that people in central Anatolia used underground spaces for strategic reasons. Midyat in Mardin offers another pattern where rock-cut living spaces tie into urban centers. Conservators such as Mervin Yavuz and regional teams have worked to document and protect those chambers. The named examples show how varied underground spaces are across Turkey. Caves become sealed in simple ways. People set slabs or stacked stones across an entrance. Wind and rain then cover those closures with dust and soil. Slow collapse and sediment can also block passages. A sealed chamber can keep its inner layers free from later disturbance. That condition creates a time capsule that allows archaeologists to see a narrow slice of past behavior. Archaeologists read that slice by careful layer work. They draw sections, take measured profiles, and record where each object sits. Lower layers are older, upper layers are newer. When a stone slab covers a pocket, the underlying layer often stays intact. In such sealed pockets, small objects and bones can remain in the same place they were left long ago. That exact context is why sealed chambers attract close study. Comparisons help place a single cave in a larger story. At Okuzini, the long sequence of tools shows repeated use across many years. At Directly, the sealed pockets held a short list of objects in discrete positions. That contrast suggests different uses. Okuzini may reflect long repeated occupations, while Directly appears to include specific events such as burials or special deposits. Comparing the two makes the function of each space clearer. Field institutions support these comparisons. For Directly, the Kahramanmaraş Museum and Ankara Haki Bayram Veli University coordinated transport and storage. At Okuzini, the Antalya Museum and University labs aided dated sequences and material tests. These institutions move field material to labs where teams perform radiocarbon dating, microscopic study, and element testing to locate raw material sources. That lab work turns a field number into an age and a material into a source region. The environment and ancient climate shaped human choices. During the late Pleistocene, cooler temperatures and changing vegetation pushed groups to shift where they hunted and where they sheltered. Some caves served as short-term camps near raw material zones. Others became places to leave objects with symbolic meaning. This mix of uses appears across Okuzini, Directly, and other named sites. People living in that area often led archaeologists to cave openings. Farmers, shepherds, and elders in villages such as Dongol shared knowledge of stone mounds and old entrances. Their great help guided the Directly team to the precise hill. Local workers also assisted with heavy lifting and careful handling during excavation. The human link between village memory and scientific study is a steady part of field research in Anatolia. Researchers compare beads and tools to see contact between groups. Lab tests can show if a bead shell came from the sea or a stone came from a distant hill. When many objects match a far place, it suggests trade or travel. These simple tests let teams map links between coastal and inland groups and show whether sealed deposits match some patterns. But what secrets were hidden beneath those ancient stones, waiting for thousands of years? to be uncovered by human hands. Could these tiny artifacts finally reveal how early people lived, worked, and connected across distant lands? Exactly what they found. The work inside the sealed pockets of Directly Cave produced a short list of small objects that carry clear meaning. Field reports and photos show 2 bone awls and 4 perforated beads removed from discrete positions beneath stone slabs. The beads include different materials. Some are cut from bone. Others look like small shells or river stones. The awls are thin, pointed pieces of bone with worn tips that match used for drilling or piercing. One bone awl has a blunt wear pattern near its tip that suggests use to push or shape soft material such as leather or hide. The other awl shows fine polish around a narrow point and small scratch marks that match careful drilling of hard material. That detail suggests a tool used to make holes in small beads or to drill into thin shells. The presence of both types shows craft skill for both soft and hard material work. The perforated beads are small and lightweight. 2 beads appear to be made from cleanly cut bone. The holes of these beads are drilled through the long axis and show smooth edges on the inner side of the hole. 1 bead resembles a small seashell with a natural perforation or a worked hole. The 4th bead looks like a polished river stone with a drilled hole. The variety in materials shows that the people who used the chamber selected both local and perhaps coastal items. The objects lay in tight positions under slabs that limited movement. That context makes the association between tools and beads likely intentional rather than accidental. The sealed pockets had little later disturbance. Pictures taken by local agencies show stone slabs placed across small chambers and a clean layer of dust above the pockets. Those images support the field report that these pockets preserved a short moment of activity, not a long accumulation. Radiocarbon tests applied to charcoal or associated organic material placed the sealed pockets near the end of the last ice age. The reported age is roughly 13,000 years before present, a time archaeologists call the Epipaleolithic. That age links the objects to hunter-gatherer groups that lived before large-scale farming in the region. The dating gives the objects a clear time anchor when paired with the sealed context. Reports also mention stone slab burials in nearby parts of the cave system. Those burials had heavy slabs that appeared to close off small chambers. In some of those burials, archaeologists recorded human bone fragments and small objects left with the bodies. The pattern suggests that groups placed specific items with the deceased. The sealed chamber with beads and tools at Directly now fits that pattern of certain caves, used for limited funerary or deposit activity. These objects offer clues about craft and social practice. The drilled beads suggest a personal ornament. Beads worn on strings function as body decoration and can signal group identity or social links. The bone awls point to specialized craft tasks such as leatherworking and bead making. When combined, these tools and ornaments suggest that the people who used this space cared for appearance and had craft specialists who made small items. Comparisons to other Anatolian sites show both common and special items. Shell beads are known from coastal camps, and their presence inland can signal long-distance contact or trade. Stone beads and bone beads are common across many sites. What makes Directly important is the sealed and recorded context. Because the objects came from a closed pocket, their association with each other and their age are more secure than many surface discoveries. Like, comment, and subscribe.